What if I told you that death doesn't have to come from a disease, an accident, or old age, but from a silent saboteur that's already inside you, hidden in the two organs you need the most to stay alive? Everyone believes that someday science will cure everything, that we'll defeat cancer, reverse aging, and maybe even live forever. But scientists just discovered something deeply disturbing. Even if medicine won all of those battles, you'd still have an expiration date, an exact number, carved into your biology, and that number has two versions, one that looks like a miracle and another far crueler one, the one that actually applies to you and me. The gap between the two is shocking. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why your own body chose to betray you. Stay with me, because this is one of the most important discoveries ever made about human life. Think with me for a second. Imagine a world where every disease has been cured, where cancer is a thing of the past, where accidents simply don't happen, and biotechnology has won every single battle against the aging we know today. In that perfect world, how long would a human being live? This isn't a science fiction question, it's exactly the question a group of scientists decided to answer. Not with guesswork, but with pure math. They built complex models layer by layer, including every factor that makes the human body fail, and then, one by one, they started switching those factors off, as if they were erasing the causes of death from the world, one at a time. What was left in the end was a single thing, a threat science still can't switch off, and it's the one that sets the ceiling on human life. Remember this name, because it's going to come back: somatic mutations. But what on earth are somatic mutations? And why can they do what no disease can? I'll explain in a moment, and once you understand, you'll look at your own body in a completely different way. Imagine your DNA is a giant instruction manual. Every cell in your body carries a copy of that manual, and every time a cell works, breathes, or divides, it makes tiny typos, a wrong letter here, a smudged word there. On its own, each error is meaningless. The problem is that they never stop. Day after day, cell by cell, those little errors keep piling up. Decades of life become decades of errors stacked inside your genetic code. Scientists call this somatic mutations, and they are, literally, the invisible wear and tear of being alive. Now, here's the part nobody tells you. Most people imagine the whole body ages together at the same pace, like a car rusting evenly. Wrong. Completely wrong. Some organs in your body are practically immortal. Others are ticking time bombs, and that's exactly where the secret of this discovery lies. But before I reveal which two organs are the traitors, you need to see the number, because the number alone is already jaw-dropping. The researchers arrived at two values, and the distance between them is what makes this story so unsettling. First, the dream scenario. If those mutations didn't exist, if your body simply never accumulated any of those errors, the theory shows that a human being could live up to 1,759 years. That's right, 1,759. It's not a typo. Almost 2 millennia of life. You'd watch empires rise and fall. You'd cross centuries of history as if they were just seasons of the year. Sounds too good to be true, right? And it is. Because when the scientists put somatic mutations back into the equation, the reality of our biology, that number collapsed, and it collapsed hard, from 1,759 years down to 156 years. That's the real ceiling, the maximum limit our own biology imposes, even in a world without a single disease. The gap between 1,759 and 156 isn't luck, and it isn't fate. It's a lock, a biological lock, and it has an exact address inside your body. Remember I mentioned 2 traitor organs. It's time you met the 2 Achilles heels of eternal life. But wait, before the villains, let me show you a hero, because not every organ betrays you. Your liver, for example, is an astonishing machine. It has such an absurd capacity to regenerate that in practice it rebuilds itself. The old cells full of errors get swapped out for new, clean cells with the instruction manual reset to 0. According to the study, tissues that renew themselves like this, like the liver, could keep working for thousands of years, practically indestructible. So if the entire body were like the liver, that number of nearly 1800 years could actually become reality. The problem is that 2 organs, 2 of the most important ones you have, don't know how to do this trick. They don't renew, they don't clean themselves, and worse, they carry every error, every mutation from your very first day of life to your last. These 2 organs sit at the center of everything you are. One of them thinks, the other beats, and both are silently counting down your time. The moment has come. The 2 Achilles heels are your neurons, the cells of the brain, and your cardiomyocytes, the cells of your heart. And the reason is frighteningly simple. Unlike the liver, these cells barely divide. The neurons you have today are, for the most part, the very same ones you were born with. The cells of your heart, the same story. They beat non-stop your whole life, but they don't replace themselves. And here's the trap. If they don't divide, they can't clean the damaged DNA. There's no new cell to take the place of the old one, so every mutation that appears stays forever, accumulating decade after decade in exactly the 2 places you can least afford to lose. That's why the number locks at 156. It's not the whole body that surrenders. It's the brain and the heart, the one that thinks and the one that feels, that hit the limit first and drag everything else down with them. Did you catch the cruel irony? The promise of eternal life doesn't die out there in a virus or an accident. It dies in here, in the 2 organs that define exactly who you are. So let's go back to the start of the video. Remember I promised to explain why your own body chose to betray you? Here's the answer. And it's not what you'd imagine. It's not cruelty from nature. It's a trade-off. Your neurons and your heart are cells so specialized, so finely tuned to do what they do, that they gave up the ability to divide. It's like a perfect Swiss watch, so precise that any new part would ruin the mechanism. They refuse to renew themselves precisely so they can keep working right flawlessly every single second of your life. And it's exactly that perfection that in the end becomes our limit. The real battle for longevity then isn't out there in the fight against disease. It's in here, in our own structure. And that's why this discovery changes everything. Because now scientists know exactly where to look. If one day we learn to protect or renew neurons and cardiomyocytes, that ceiling of 156 years could simply cease to exist. The body betrays us. But now you know exactly why. And knowing where the enemy hides is always the first step to defeating it. If this discovery surprised you as much as it surprised the scientists themselves, do one thing for me. Leave a like, because it really helps the channel bring these revelations to more people. And subscribe now, because in the next video I'll show you what science is already testing to try to break this limit. And some of those ideas sound like they came straight out of a movie. Don't miss it. See you in the next one. Ta.